So we're being a little quiet in the world of boxing, but today the undercard for Bivol versus Beterbiev got announced, and it's a fairly exciting undercard. I wouldn't say it's like a 10, but I'd say it's definitely like an 8. Obviously, down at the bottom, you've got Sky Nicholson versus Chapman. I think Sky Nicholson's a good name. Obviously, she wants that fight with Amanda Serrano. Hopefully, this will help her get towards it. And then we got Whittaker versus Cameron. Again, I think this is a good fight for Whittaker. It's one step up from Aranyeka, isn't it? And Whittaker's just another big name on the card that hopefully is going to make the press conferences very exciting. That'll go viral and hopefully bring a lot more attraction to the fights. And then we got Opetaya versus Massey. I guess it's a little bit disappointing. This isn't like world champion versus world champion. I think if the card wanted to be like a 9 or 10 out of 10, I think it would have to be world champion versus world champion. But again, you can't really complain about a European champion versus a world champion, can you? Jack Massey probably deserves this shot. I mean, Opetaya's coming in as favourite, but you just beat the European champion. Yeah, why not have a shot at the world champion? I'm sure Massey can take confidence from the fact that, he's fought Joseph Parker. He's got that European belt, and it'll be a good test for Opetaya. Let's not forget that Zorro and both well below his level, so this will be a first test for Jai Opetaya, obviously excluding the Maris Brodus fights, because obviously Maris Brodus, tough dude, who recently retired. And I think that second Maris Brodus fight did show that there is some weaknesses in Opetaya. If it had been an old school 15-round boxing match, that Opetaya versus Brodus 2, maybe Brodus would have got him, who knows? And then obviously we've got Fabio Wardley versus Fraser Clark. Love a heavyweight fight. Great to have a heavyweight title fight on there. The first fight was great, right? Shane McGuigan said it was the best heavyweight fight he'd ever seen live. Enthralling 12 rounders, so that was another great fight to have on the cards. As much as draws are frustrating, the first fight probably was a draw, wasn't it? I wasn't sure if they should have the fight like straight away. I was thinking because that first fight took so much out of them. Oh, do you really want to go straight back into that again? I was maybe thinking that they should go different paths, try and, you don't want to be having 12-round wars every single boxing match, do you? I was thinking maybe go and fight some other people and then come back for maybe a European or a World Championship, but it got ordered, right? The fight got ordered by the belt holders, so I guess it has to happen. And obviously I'm very excited about that as a boxing fan, but yeah, I guess just a little bit of concern that, these 12-rounders must be taking so much out of them. And then Eubank Jr. is back. I guess this one's a little bit disappointing because it's sort of like a comeback fight, The guy he's in against, Kamil Serementa, he fought Golovkin and Munguia. It was 4 years ago, so that was probably when he was in his prime. And obviously he did lose to both. But he's been undefeated since then, and I mean, it's a decent comeback fight, but I'd say it's a little bit disappointing because you think Eubank Jr., he put out that hit list that he wanted, didn't he? Who was on it? Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo. So it's you put out a hit list and then your next fight isn't with a person on that hit list. But so that one's a little bit disappointing. At 34 years of age, if you'd stayed a bit more active after that Liam Smith fight, you wouldn't need a comeback fight. And this is kind of a comeback fight. But look, I'm just happy he's on the card, right? He's another big character that's going to make these press conferences and the fight build-up very exciting. So try not to complain too much. But again, it would be a bit nicer to have a 50-50 fight, with the 5v5s. But again, it's a decent fight, right? And then Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina. I'm not that mad about it because I know Joe Cordina can fight. And obviously, Shakur Stevenson obviously can fight. Maybe it's a little bit disappointing that, for Shakur, he wants to be a pound-for-pound star. He's fighting someone who's just come off a KO loss. But Cordina was hit with a shot after the bell that completely rocked him. So maybe you give him a little bit of leeway for that fight because, as you said, it was sort of an illegal punch that rocked him and he couldn't get back to himself after that. But it's a decent fight, right? It's better to see Shakur in there with a name and somebody's going to give him a test, even if it's maybe not a 50-50 fight. I guess for me, I'm just confused as to why the Shakur Tank fight hasn't happened yet. Shakur was out of contract, right? So I'm thinking it's the perfect time for the Tank versus Shakur fight to happen, but either Tank just didn't want to. I think they're friends because I've seen them together in training videos, so maybe they're friends and they just don't want to fight. But I guess a lot of boxing fans were expecting that to happen now, and obviously that's got the excitement of a puncher versus a boxer, whereas this is a boxer versus a boxer, and one of the boxers is slightly better and not coming off a KO loss. But You know, I'm trying to stay positive. It's still a decent fight. The main event, Bivol versus Beterbiev, you know, will be huge. I think, the more I thought about it, I do think Bivol's going to win. Like, you think about how good Canelo is. Bivol beat him. So I do think Bivol's going to win. I just think he'll be too disciplined. I think he can hit hard. I think he'll be able to keep Beterbiev off him. So my initial reaction is, I think Bivol's going to do it, but I don't feel hugely confident in that statement. And then obviously coming up soon is Canelo versus Berlanga. I was watching the press conference and I was like, I don't know if Berlanga's ready for this fight. Like, he's very cocky and he's very confident, and you can see the way like he wears all the chains and he acts like he's Anthony Joshua, but I'm thinking, you're not that guy yet. Like, when I was looking at him in the press conferences, I was like, I'm not sure if you're fully taking this fight seriously. Like, I get that you've got to be confident and believe in yourself, but there was like this air of arrogance around him of like, oh no, I cannot be beaten, which is kind of good, but I think in your training camp, you need to think like, oh, okay, I could get knocked out, so I'm going to train really hard. And then it's like the day before the fight, you're like, oh yeah, well, you need to get that sort of air of invincibility coming onto you. So as I said, I would be slightly concerned he's not quite realised the gravitas of this fight. You know, this is Canelo. This is the fight of your life, and you're not fully prepared for it. You probably needed a few more fights first. I didn't hugely like the way he was calling out Caleb Plant either, like having a go at him for being knocked out by Canelo. I didn't think it was very respectful, and Caleb Plant fought, I think, prime Canelo, right? Just after that Billy Joe Saunders win. So I think Caleb Plant went in there with a Canelo who was a lot more dangerous, right? Caleb Plant was kind of the last top 168er that he fought. He's been taking slightly easier fights since then, just slightly, of course. Mingaya, naturally a middleweight, you know, went up to super middleweight and struggled against Derevyanchenko. So I didn't like that lack of respect from Berlanga to Plant, but Canelo stood up for him, which is nice. It was nice to see the respect between Canelo and Plant. And it's nice to see Plant back in the ring as well. I'm a really big fan of Caleb Plant. I love the way that the guy's got huge balls, right? Like, he'll fight everyone. He really wants to be the best, and he fights the best. Like, you have to give him so much credit for that, you know? He went, I think it was 11 rounds with Canelo before, you know, he got TKO'd. He went the full 12 rounds with Benavidez, although he lost. You know, he beat Truax, he's beaten Andre Durrell. The guy's a top fighter, and he wants to smoke, you know? Where we're not always seeing the top fights happen, like Tang versus Shakur. You've got to give credit to a man that wants all of the smoke, even if he's got a few losses. So I'm a big fan of Caleb Plant, and I'm looking to see him get back in the ring. It's kind of a warm-up fight. The guy he's fighting, he hasn't been 12 rounds before, so I'm expecting Plant to win. But happy to see him back in the ring nonetheless. And hopefully it will lead to a potential fight with Munguia. I think that's the next fight that makes sense for Plant. That would be an exciting fight. Could definitely see that on a Saudi undercard. And then obviously coming up, we've got the Dubois versus AJ in September. Lawrence Okoli said that he believes, after sparring both of them, he thinks that Dubois actually has more power than AJ. But AJ is slightly faster. I mean, take of that what you will. That's not like a hugely helpful statement, but I just thought it's interesting to say that Okoli thinks Dubois has got a bit more power. So yeah, after a bit of a quieter month of boxing, it looks like things are starting to heat up. Canelo Berlanga, AJ Dubois, Bivol Beterbiev, the undercards. It's looking very exciting, as I said. Maybe not enough 50-50 fights to be a 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, but solid 8 out of 10, you know. Lots of big names on there that are going to make the undercard very exciting. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Goodbye.